What's up everybody? You found me. Today's build is inspired by one of my all-time favorite video game series, The Legend of Zelda. These are inspired by puzzles you'll come across in Breath of the Wild made by Koroks, or little forest spirits. Let's jump right into it. This video is actually going to feature 3 separate but related builds, thematically linked together. For the rock circle, you're going to want some decent-sized gravel chunks and something to base your terrain on. I'm just going to be using cereal box cardstock for all of the projects here. Go ahead and cut your base to the size you want. I went with an approximately 4-inch circle, and then figure out the placement you want for the rocks. Once you get that figured out, go ahead and attach them to the base with a couple of dabs of hot glue. Go ahead and also put a bit of hot glue over the rest of the base, making sure the rocks themselves are nicely secured. This also helps to bulk up the base a little bit for flocking later. To start for the second piece, go ahead and either trim some XPS foam down to size, or peel the paper off of a few smaller sections of foam core board and glue them together. The join between these pieces doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to be covering it up with some texturing. So go ahead and use whatever gluing method you prefer. I just made a hot glue sandwich here. Trace or score a circle about 1.5 inches in diameter. I did this with a dollar store checker, the kind that I normally use for monster bases. Roughly cut out the foam circle and then grab your hot glue gun to do a bit of texturing. This is going to be a short tree stump, so put a small bead of hot glue on the side of the foam and tease it up and down with the tip of the glue gun nozzle while it's still hot. Do this all around the circumference of the stump while avoiding getting anything on the top. Go ahead and glue the stump to your cardstock and trim the base around it. To texture the top of the stump, grab a stiff bristle cleaning brush. You could use one with metal bristles, but that can be very aggressive on foam core. Score in the tree rings by rotating the tree stump as you press in with the brush. Finally, to take this from a generic tree stump and turn it into a Korok puzzle, we're going to add a little carving into the top. The final of the Korok puzzles is going to be a block puzzle. I used these wooden craft cubes, with some simple designs sketched and then carved onto the sides. If you have access to XPS foam and a foam cutter, that would be a faster option here. I don't have a Proxxon cutter at the moment, and since I was only doing a handful of these cubes, I just decided to use elbow grease instead. Once the cubes are prepped, go ahead and glue them onto your base. I also decided to add on a few cut-offs from the tree stump to build a bit of a mound on one side that the blocks would be sunk into. If you are using wooden cubes for this step, you can use normal PVA glue or wood glue to attach them to one another. After the glue dries, go ahead and trim the base and then give all of the pieces 1 or 2 layers of Blackmagic base coat. I'm not going to be doing anything particularly fancy for painting these. Just the usual brown and gray undercoat for the stone, brown undercoat for the wood, and then layering on successively lighter highlights by dry brushing, with a few inks tossed in the mix. I did dry brush a khaki yellow onto the top of the tree stump, so that the cut area would look different from the bark. The recessed carvings on everything also got shaded with ink to help them stand out. If you overdo the ink or get somewhere it's not supposed to be, you can always dry brush back over those sections to cover it up. I did my flocking to match my recent fantasy camp terrain build. My normal flocking is a 50-50 mix of coffee grounds and black tea leaves. And to this I added in about 40% by volume Italian seasoning. This gives a nice forest effect. If the seasoning isn't as bright as you want, you can also go over it at the end with a light green ink to make things look a little bit more vibrant. No Korok puzzle would be complete without a missing piece, so I peeled one of the rocks off and flocked the whole with my standard flocking, no leaves, and then based the individual piece separately. I also made sure to make an extra stone cube to have separate from the block puzzle. So what do you think? Which video game puzzles would make for fun terrain on the tabletop? Or what other set dressing from games do you think could translate from digital to physical to make a scene really pop? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more like this, please consider dropping a like on the video. It helps me to see what projects folks enjoy the most. And as always, stay safe, sane, and crafty out there, and thanks for watching.